With their Indiana connection and roots going back to morning shows in the 80s, David Letterman has chosen to give his only TV interview before he signs off the year next week to Jane Pauley.
The interview will air Sunday on CBS Sunday Morning, but we had a chance to talk to Jane about the interview and a different side of Dave that we don't usually see. Well, Jane, let's talk a little bit about David Letterman. You and Dave have traveled a long road together, and you have interviewed everyone imaginable in your career. What was it like to interview an old friend and someone you have so much history with?
Well, you know, our friendship is of an interesting kind. We grew up in Indianapolis at about the same time, our careers, and so there's an affinity, you know, based on our shared Hoosierness, but we're not close personal friends, you know, and yet I kind of get him, even though he is very enigmatic. You know, one thing that I've always thought was an Indiana characteristic is self-deprecation. But David makes an art of it. I've never interviewed you know, someone who was at the same time as comfortable. You'll see his body language is just easy and rumpled and comfortable as his clothes he was wearing. And yet, his emotions are quite, you know, raw. He's kind of mixed feelings about, you know, where he's come from and where he's going to.
I think enigma is the perfect word for him. And in an interview, sometimes he's a tough nut to crack. But did you find him to be very introspective and emotional and forthcoming? Yes,
because for the last several weeks, if not months, he's been immersed in this leave-taking. And it's not just changing jobs. You know, he's leaving a late-night lifestyle that he's had for most of his adult life and heading off into the rest of his adult life without a clear roadmap. He says he'll never go back to the Ed Sullivan Theater where he spent the last 22 years.
It's The Late Show with David Letterman.
I don't think I'll ever be back in this building again, honestly.
Because?
Yeah, I think it'd just be too difficult for me. Yeah, emotionally too difficult for me because I just don't want to come back and see others living our lives. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So while I did ask, you know, have you decided, is the final show, are you going to end on a laugh or tears?
Good question.
And I'm pretty sure that he's committed to ending on a laugh. But I'm confident that when he walks out that door of the Ed Sullivan Theater for the last time, there are going to be some tears. He's kind of emotionally raw, and that is probably why he was a really good interview.
Well, Jane Pauley, thank you for sharing that side of David with us. I'm sure he looks at you and it's reassuring because you can reinvent yourself, and there's an exciting new chapter. So we're excited to see Dave's.
Yeah, I gave him a copy of my book, but I said you don't have to read it.
Good idea. Jane, thank you so much.